Everyone on this street walked past him 100 times, and not one of them noticed what was in his hand. This is the story of a boy the whole city gave up on, and the one envelope that was about to change everything. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why the richest man on that block used to be the poorest. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. His name was Eli, 16 years old. Every morning, before the sun had fully climbed over the rooftops, he dragged his wooden crate to the same corner and sat down to shine shoes for anyone willing to spare a few coins. Most people didn't even look at him. To them, he was just part of the sidewalk, something you stepped around, not someone you saw. By the end of the day, his hands were stained black with polish, and his pockets held barely enough to matter. He counted it anyway, every single time. Because every dollar was a decision, food or medicine, rarely both. He lived with his grandmother, in a small apartment 2 floors up from a laundromat that never quite stopped humming. She'd raised him since his father passed, and now, it was his turn to take care of her. Her medication sat on the table, next to a bill she hadn't opened in a week. She didn't need to open it to know what it said. Eli never complained. Not once. But some nights, he'd sit by the window and watch the city lights, wondering what it would take, just once, for something to go right. He didn't know that tomorrow, it would. Her name was Mrs. Whitfield, a woman in her late 60s, always composed, always moving with purpose. She passed his corner most days without a second glance, just another face in a city full of them. But that afternoon, as she hurried past, her handbag caught on the strap of her coat, and an envelope slipped free, landing softly on the sidewalk behind her. She never noticed. She kept walking. Eli saw it fall. He looked around. No one else had. He picked it up, and when he opened the flap just enough to see inside, his breath caught in his throat. Cash. More than he'd ever held at once. More than he made in 6 months on that crate. For one long second, the whole world seemed to go quiet. And then Eli did something that would change the course of his life. He ran. Down the block, past shop fronts and startled strangers, envelope raised above his head, shouting for her to wait. His worn shoes hit the pavement hard, over and over, until he finally caught up. "You dropped this," he said, holding it out, chest heaving. Mrs. Whitfield looked at the envelope, then at him. She hadn't even realized it was gone. And here was a boy, clearly with nothing, who could have simply walked away, choosing instead to chase her down a crowded street to return every last dollar. She took it slowly. "Thank you," she said. And something in the way she studied his face told him this wasn't the end of the conversation. It was only the beginning. What Eli didn't know, what he wouldn't learn until much later, was that Mrs. Whitfield had seen him before. From her apartment window 3 floors above his corner, she'd watched him for weeks. The same boy, the same crate, the same quiet dignity in a world that gave him none. This wasn't the first time she'd noticed him. It was the first time he'd noticed her noticing. Life went back to normal, or at least, it seemed to. Eli returned to his corner the next morning, and the one after that. No windfall, no reward, just the same routine, the same coins, the same worn brush moving across leather. He didn't regret what he'd done. He just wondered, quietly, if it had mattered at all. A few blocks away stood a cramped pawn shop, run by a man named Grady. Stocky, balding, always counting something behind the counter. Grady had built his business on other people's desperation, buying low, selling high, and looking the other way when it suited him. Eli had come in that week to sell an old watch that belonged to his father, one of the only things he had left of him. Grady looked it over, made a lowball offer, and Eli, needing the money, almost said yes. But before he could decide, Grady slipped it, quietly, deliberately, into Eli's jacket pocket instead of the register. Eli never felt a thing. But what happened in the next 60 seconds is something even Eli's own grandmother never saw coming. "Hey," Grady's voice boomed across the shop floor. "This kid's got my merchandise." He grabbed Eli's arm before he could even process what was happening, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a watch Eli had never agreed to take. A small crowd gathered outside the window, whispering, judging, already deciding who Eli was before he'd said a word. Grady leaned in close, voice low so only Eli could hear. "You owe me now," he said. and I know exactly where your grandmother lives. Word gets to the landlord about a thief in the building. Well, you understand." Eli understood perfectly. He'd been set up, and there was nothing he could do to prove it. He walked home in the rain that night without an umbrella, without a plan, and without a single person on that street willing to believe him over a grown man with a shop and a reputation. The city that had never really seen him now saw him as something worse than invisible. At home, he told his grandmother everything. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her hand found his across the table, trembling slightly, not from anger, but from fear. She'd lost so much already. The thought of losing their home too was almost more than she could hold. The next morning, Eli returned to his corner anyway, because what else was there to do? He sat on his crate, brush resting in his lap, untouched. For the first time since he could remember, he didn't have the will to call out to a single passerby. That's when Mrs. Whitfield appeared again, this time, walking with purpose, straight toward him. Word of what happened at the pawn shop had reached her, and she hadn't hesitated for a second. "I need you to know something," she said, kneeling slightly to meet his eyes. "I was at my window 3 days ago. I saw Grady put that watch in your pocket myself. Every second of it." For the first time in days, Eli felt something other than despair. Someone had seen the truth, and she was standing right in front of him. Together, they walked back into that pawn shop, Eli and a woman who, until a week ago, had been a stranger. Mrs. Whitfield didn't raise her voice either. She simply told Grady, calmly and clearly, exactly what she'd witnessed in front of the same crowd that had judged Eli days before. Grady's face went pale. He stammered, denied it, then finally, with nowhere left to hide, admitted the truth. The crowd that had once whispered about Eli now looked at him differently. Not with pity, with respect. Outside the shop, Mrs. Whitfield turned to Eli one more time. "I don't give handouts," she said, "but I do recognize character when I see it. I own a business 2 blocks from here. I think you'd do well working for me, properly, and paid fairly, if you want it." Eli didn't answer right away. He just nodded, because some moments don't need words. When he got home and told his grandmother, she pulled him into her arms and held on longer than usual. She didn't say much either. She didn't have to. For the first time in a long time, the fear in that small apartment had nowhere left to sit. Weeks later, Eli still passed that same corner every day, same street, same crate. Except now, his shoes were no longer torn, and his shoulders no longer carried quite the same weight. It started with an envelope he could have kept, and didn't. A choice no one would have blamed him for making differently. But he did the right thing, when it would have been so easy not to, and the city that once walked past him without a glance finally stopped to notice. If this story moved you, tell us in the comments, and subscribe so you don't miss what we cover next.